Good day everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. In today's video, I'll be demonstrating how to install and configure Windows Deployment Services. Windows Deployment Services is a Windows technology that is primarily used for network-based installation of Windows operating systems. So to begin, we're going to need to open our Server Manager. Next, we're going to need to add a new role. So I'm just going to select Add Role. Click on Next. And then click on the Windows Deployment Services option. I'll now click Next. And this page basically gives us some introductory information on what Windows Deployment Services entails. When you finish reading this, you can click Next. And we're going to be presented with two options, Deployment Server and Transport Server. Deployment Server provides the full functionality of Windows Deployment Services, which you can use to configure and remotely install Windows operating systems. Transport Server provides a subset of the functionality of Windows Deployment Services. It contains only the core networking parts, which you can use to transmit data using multitasking on a standalone server. I'll keep both options selected, and I'm going to select Next. I'll now install the Windows Deployment Services. This will just be a few moments. Alright, so our installation has been successful. I'll now close this window. I'll also close my Server Manager. And now you're going to need to go into your Start menu, Administrative Tools, and you'll see your newly installed Windows Deployment Services option. So I'll just select this. And here we're going to begin the configuration of our deployment services. So I'm just going to expand my servers, and you can see that my server PC ksmorris.com domain, and you'll notice that you'll have a warning message stating that our Windows Deployment Services is not configured. Now to configure our server, you're going to need to right click on your domain, select Configure Server, and now our wizard has popped up, which will enable us to configure our deployment services. When you have read this introductory information and ensure that the following criteria has been met, you can click Next. Now we're going to need to choose the location for the remote installation folder. The remote installation folder will contain boot images, install images, boot files, and the Windows Deployment Services Management Tools. I'll keep the destination folder as the default pathway and click Next. I'll select Yes. Currently, we have DHCP running on this server. Due to this, you need to check the two following boxes, which are Do Not Listen on port 67 and configure DHCP option 60 to PXE client. After doing this, you can click Next. Now the PXE server initial settings will enable us to define which client computers this server will respond to. So I'm going to select the option Respond to all client computers, known and unknown. Now I'll just click next, and it is configuring my Windows deployment services. Okay, so our installation, or should I say configuration, has been successful. And now we're going to need to add the images to the server. For this tutorial, I'll be doing this manually. So I'll uncheck this option and click on finish. Okay, so now that that's been completed, what I'm going to do now is import my images onto the server. So to do this, I'll just right click here, choose the virtual CD or disk file, and for this tutorial I'll be installing Windows 7. So I'll just select that ISO image. Okay, so what next you're going to do is install the image. So you're just going to expand the domain, right click on install images, select add installed image, and I'm going to create an image group. So you can give it a name, Windows 7 image group, and then I'll click on next, and then I'm going to find the location of the WIM file. So to do this, I'll go onto my computer, select on the CD drive, go into sources, and select the install.wim file. I'll click next, and here we can specify the images that we want to add to the server. I'll just install the Windows 7 64-bit version, so I'll just deselect this option, and now I'll click next. And this is the summary of what we did previously, so I'll just continue on by clicking next, and my image is being added onto the server. Okay, so my Windows 7 ISO image was successfully added to the server, so I can now close this window. Next, I'll need to add a boot image. So I'll right click on boot images, select add boot image, and browse for the .wim file extension. Okay, so it's right here, so I'll just select this boot.wim file. Then I'll click next, and I'll give it the image name. And also an image description. Then I'll click next, next again, and it's going to add my boot image to the server. Okay, great. So my boot image was successfully added to the server. I'll click finish. And here it is. And its status is online. Okay, so now that that's been completed, let's test out this service. I'm going to need to create a new virtual machine on my Oracle VirtualBox Manager. I'll click on New. I'll select which version of Windows I'm going to install. The Windows 7 in this case. I'll give it a name. For the sake of this tutorial, I'll name it Windows 7 Test. Then I'll click Next. I'll keep it as the default 512 megabytes, so click Next. I'll create the virtual hard drive now, so create. I'll keep it as the default VDI option, so click Next. I'll keep it as 25 gigs, next. Okay, so it's now created. I'm just going to need to go into the network settings of this virtual machine. So I'll just go into network settings, and I'll change it, and I'll change the network adapter from NAT to internal network. Expand the advanced options, allow all, and I'll click OK. Oh, I almost forgot. I'll need to go back into the settings and the system and turn on the network. Okay, so I'll press OK, and now I'll power on the virtual machine. This is the correct host drive, so I'll just press start. And press F12, and I'll choose the operating system Windows 7 Ultimate, and there you go. The Windows files are loading from my Windows Server virtual machine. As you can see, the IP address of 192.168.0.1. Okay, and there you go. A Windows 7 operating system is up and running. And all that needs to be done now is the setup. Click next. I'll just need to type in my username. KS Morris slash administrator, and type in my password. Select OK. Great. So as you can see, my operating system is up and ready to install, and this basically brings an end to my tutorial. Everything now is essentially about following the Windows 7 setup process. I hope this video is beneficial. Thank you very much.